Namaste, friends. Welcome to Jewel Buzz Talks. Today we have a leading jewelry educator, designer, manufacturer, consultant, and entrepreneur. My pleasure to welcome Ms. Hetal Wakil Palia.
Good afternoon, Steve. Firstly, I'd like to thank you for having me here today on this podcast. It's always a pleasure to be on the Jewel Buzz podcast and to talk about my topics, which are very close to my heart. So yes, thank you so much again.
In the introduction, we saw you wear so many hats. Take us through your journey, your beginnings, and the evolution.
So my journey in jewelry design began way back in 1991. And prior to that, I was teaching diamond grading, gemology. I was testing stones for certification at the Gemological Institute of India. But I had this very creative spark in me, and I always wanted to try the artistic aspect of jewelry. At that time, there was no school giving formal training in jewelry design. So I took a leap of faith and I went to the GIA, the Gemological Institute of America, which was based in Santa Monica, Los Angeles. After completing the program, I returned to Mumbai and I did one of the earliest jewelry design seminars during the Jewel Yatra in 1992. Now, this Jewel Yatra has evolved, Steve, into the what we know as the IIJS. Everyone knows. Indian International Jewelry Show, one of the leading shows globally. So that was definitely a milestone. Another milestone was designing the first gold trend book for India, which was launched by the World Gold Council. And when I talk about my design journey, it basically has two aspects. One is, of course, making customized jewelry for my clients, making sure it enhances their personality. At the same time, catering to the US and the Middle East markets. The other aspect is my commitment to jewelry design education. And that could be through courses, through webinars, seminars for institutes, councils, companies. In fact, my academy was one of the earliest private training schools in India. So jewelry design is very close to my heart, and that's why I love talking about this subject. I also like judging competitions, participating and moderating panel discussions, and generally sharing knowledge, Steve.
I said, along this journey, what has been your design philosophy? What has inspired you as you create these wonderful pieces?
Yes. So basically, inspiration for me is all around. So whether I am looking at nature in all its varied forms, you can have the leaves, the flowers, the animals, the birds, etc. It could be man-made structures like architecture, monuments, paintings, tiles, tapestry.
The world is
also, it could also be things like, symbolic sources like zodiac signs, or it could be religious symbols like an Om or a Allah or a cross. So basically, inspiration is all around. And I think that you need to basically see beyond the ordinary. And for me, jewelry is, it's like a mirror. It should not only reflect the style, but also the story of the wearer. And my philosophy is very, very simple. You design from the heart. I love to blend the old and the new. I love to, fuse traditional craftsmanship with cutting edge design. I think every piece needs to be personal, whether it's like a delicate necklace or it's like a bold statement ring. It's all about the balance, it's about clean lines, it's about textures, unique textures or intricate details, or just, understated elegance. So I think when we're talking about designs, I think every jewelry must make you feel something, Steve, whether it's joy, whether it's nostalgia, or even wonder. At the end of the day, it's all about expression and connection for the wearer.
So as you create these designs, any favorite metals, stones, unusual materials you like to play around with?
So if I'm talking about metals, then traditionally gold has always been the go-to metal for Indians.
Yes.
And I am no exception to this rule. Gold is my first love. Now, whether it's in yellow, rose or white color. Gold, I think it has this inherent glow and versatility that can transform any design. So I just love the metal. Talking
Stones.
about gemstones, there is no particular favorite. I do love blue sapphires because they have this ethereal depth, again, which can transform a piece, whether it's bold or is understated. But in India, blue sapphires are not worn by everyone, Steve, because of the astrological significance.
Correct.
So then you have another stone, which is tanzanite, which is equally beautiful, which can be used. But the list doesn't end for me there. Like if
Yes.
I'm looking to add some brilliance in my designs, then I'm going to use diamonds, girl's best friend, and diamonds are forever. The luxury, the rarity, the timelessness, right? But also other stones. I mean, I would love to use the Colombian emerald with a three-phase inclusion, or like a pigeon blood red ruby from Burma, or
What
even
about
a
something like a
semi-precious stone.
Paraiba? What about
Sorry?
like a Paraiba from Brazil?
Yeah, why not? I mean, I think the list is endless, and basically, even forget that. Even a semi-precious stone like opal, I love it. The play of color, watermelon tourmaline, which has three colors: the red, the green, and the white. So I think working with different metals and different gemstones allows me to create like a harmony of beauty, energy, and emotion in the design. And that's the best way I can put it, Steve.
Going beyond creativity and innovation, as I talk to young designers, they want to know, success mantra to balance creativity, innovation, going beyond the ordinary with certain, commercial groundings, commercial viability, feasibility. Would you like to comment on that? You're being an entrepreneur, how you have gone about balancing creativity?
So basically, I think the best lesson that I have learned in this industry is balancing your passion with your with practicality and pragmatism, Steve. Creativity, innovation is at the core of everything that I do. But at the end of the day, to build a sustainable business, one has to have a strong identity, and one also has to have market understanding. So you need to establish a clear vision of what is your position in this crowded market. You need to have your own unique style and your own unique voice, but which resonates with your target group and
Correct.
audience.
Exactly.
That becomes very important. Otherwise, of course, creativity and innovation are the factor which will distinguish you from everybody else. But if you want to make it as an entrepreneur, then you have to have market understanding also clubbed with it. And I feel the ability to create different collections along different price points while maintaining your brand identity is going to help in your growth and in staying relevant in this industry. So I think that would be my advice to everybody, that if you are going into entrepreneurship, it is not only about creativity. There's a lot more that is involved.
Hetal, I know how passionate about education, as you mentioned at the beginning of the thing, very, very
Always.
deep in your heart. I wanted to get a sense of the scenario of jewelry design education or jewelry education. Is it adequate? Is it enough to make all the guys graduating, what do you say, compete globally? Is it enough?
So basically, we definitely have a rich heritage and culture here. So craftsmanship is a given. But if you ask me about jewelry design education, then I think that system is still catching up with global standards. Because although our institutes are producing skilled artisans, I think there is a gap in teaching the business and the creative the partnership there, that needs to kind of be included in the curriculum. So because that's what international markets want. So to compete globally, I would say that we would need a curriculum that is not only focusing on technical skills, but also on creative innovation, on entrepreneurial acumen. So more exposure to global trends, the use of technology like AI design, 3D printing, 3D modeling, and the modern market practices need to be focused on. And I think incorporating those the trends and what is the real world industry practice, that will help students and designers excel internationally. We do have, like I said, we have a rich heritage, we have a lot of talent, but I think in this case, maybe government initiatives like Skill India or more grants from the private sector will help to kind of, elevate the standard of jewelry education in India. And, like Benjamin Franklin has always said that an investment in education always gives you the highest returns. And I could testify to it. So if you can bridge the gap, then I think then India can position itself as a global leader in the jewelry design segment.
And Hetal, why I was bringing this topic is after Honorable Prime Minister's call of Make in India, now what we hear is design in India. In fact, even the Honorable Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal at one of the IIJs said, he says, now it's time to pull up your socks and design in India. So you think we are on that path where we can sort of create global brands?
The jewelry design segment is definitely booming, and there's definitely a fresh wave of creativity and innovation which is emerging. And while the Make in India initiative has been very successful, I think now it is, yes, time to shift our attention and focus on design in India. Because you're very good in manufacturing, but we also, and we have, like I have always said, that we have craftsmanship, we have talent, we have a rich cultural heritage, but we need to focus more on design, because if that happens, then, we have a particular position on the world stage. Because I feel that the world is definitely ready, Steve, for Indian designs, which tell stories, which push boundaries, designs which are Indian in feel and global in appeal. And for that, there will have to be investment done in jewelry design education. We will have to keep abreast of what's happening in the market, the trends that are available, because I think all of this will then make designers more capable of, having designs which are completely unique. I think even Indian designers must leverage digital media to showcase their work globally, and they should have a unique identity, a unique style, which blends tradition and contemporary aesthetics. So if we manage to kind of, blend heritage along with contemporary trends, then we are definitely there. And then design in India will become a global phenomenon, just like Make in India, Steve.
So good luck to all the people involved in design in India.
Yes.
So before we let you go, Hetal, a couple of lines to young designers, young entrepreneurs, something to motivate them.
I think basically most people feel that design is a very glamorous profession. You get your creativity out there and success follows. So my advice is that it's not always so. Seize opportunities as and when you get them. There is no two ways to hard work. It is the mantra for success. But there is always that opportunity, that grace, that luck which plays a role. So keep doing your work. And I think it's the jo Bhagavad Gita ka saar hai, that, Manushya Yatna Ishwar Krupa. So keep working hard. Be very aware of what the market wants, because I think today's customer is very well aware, and customer needs, taste, preferences are changing, according to which trends are also shifting. So it's very important to design accordingly, because at the end of the day, we want these designs to sell. I feel that design is not just a piece of art that you keep somewhere. It is something that has to be worn and enjoyed for generations. So to me, jewelry design is not just, I would say it's not just art, but it is something which binds, it's a bridge between the wearer and the world. So I think designers must keep that into account, that they have to create pieces which are timeless and meaningful. At the same time, being practical and keep working hard. There is no substitute to hard work when it comes to success.
Thank you so much for those deep insights and your valuable time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and thank you again for this opportunity, Steve.
Yeah.